What's up, people, and welcome to the book club with one mother, three sisters, and a whole lot of hot takes. This is the family plot. I'm Angel, the host and heart of the crew, joined by my baby sister, Cam. Say hey, Cam.
Hey.
Our resident conspiracy theorist is what she is. We're joined by our mama, Lisa. Say hey, Mom.
Hey, Mom.
She is our matriarch and occasional voice of reason. We are joined by Glenna. Say hey, girl.
Hello.
My sister-in-law with the insightful takes. Okay, so here's how we get down. Each month, we discuss a book of our choosing. Every week, I'll share a brief summary of the chapters that we've read, and we each pick a discussion question to answer. We'll also share our first impressions, predictions, and whatever else comes up along the way. So if any interests you, pull up a chair, pour some tea, get cozy as we get into the finale of this month's book right here on the family plot, where every chapter digs deep. Okay, ladies, that said, it is time. The finale for Elite by Mercedes Lackey. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling up the questions now. Because we got some things to discuss, people. We've got some things to discuss. All right, y'all let me know when you can see the screen. Are we good? Okay. All right, let's get into it. So, chapters 16 through 20, Apex comes under massive attack, forcing Joy and her fellow hunters into brutal battles. During the chaos, the folk mage reappears, cryptically warning Joy that power always comes from somewhere. Ace resurfaces, now aligned with the folk mage, but Joy's loyal hounds refuse his call. After devastating losses, including Retro's death, Joy begins to realize the possibility of hunters sharing magic, a game-changing discovery confirmed by Baya. Meanwhile, Kent negotiates with the Simons as Joy grows into her leadership role, even gaining Jessie's respect as Jessie steps into her own new purpose as a nurse. Joy's negotiations with Thunderbirds show she is learning new ways to win battles without bloodshed. Eventually, Joy faces Ace in a final muddy showdown. With the help of Hammer, Steel, and Mark, she defeats and captures him. During Ace's interrogation, Joy learns he conspired with a psionic being who helped orchestrate Carly's death. Even more troubling, Abigail Drift has been experimenting on Simons, killing many in her quest to replace hunters with Psycor. Though the political games weigh heavy, Joy ends this arc resolved. She won't waste any energy on power struggles. Her focus is and will remain protecting Apex City as a hunter. All right. We must get into it. First impressions. Cam, what we got?
Listen here, right? I was so satisfied and so not satisfied at the same time. Because she got her payback with Ace. Hallelujah. Retro died. Boo hoo. That hurt my feelings. But then we find out about the experimentation on the Simons. One of us predicted it last week. Whoever that was, big snaps to you. Good job, Mom. Nice. And I think it was because of that. I wasn't surprised when I heard it, but I was kind of like, well, dang, that's crazy. Because that's crazy. But then I also kind of felt, what that lady name?
Abigail.
Abigail Drift. She can drift her way to hell because I'm kind of over her. Actually, I'm very over her. She's been sus since we met her last week. I don't like it. I'm not here for it. Hope she dies soon. I'm not a fan. We already knew Joy was going to stay who she was. That ain't gonna change. All I know is I need the last book expeditiously yesterday. And I yield.
Okay. I'm here for it. Yes, ma'am. Mother, first impressions. Don't forget to come off mute. There you go.
Well, I called it. I knew Psycho was up to something. They were experimenting, not experimenting. And I'm to be honest, I'm glad the Simons were able to help with the battling, but I think they need to maybe find a happy medium so that um they don't lose their lives in helping the way they did. But I knew Abigail was up to something, honey. So she over there experimenting with the peoples. That's why they end up in them tongues. But anyway, what you said in the summary about Ace's hounds, well, they did go to him, but they betrayed him because they snatched him up and snatched up that mage, and I was glad for it because I was kind of sad when they went back. I was like, oh no. And they turned around and said, we got something for you, bro. We got something for you. So I was glad to see that her hounds stayed true to her. Well, his hounds stayed true to her after she did so much to save them with all the, his foolishness. And yes, are we glad he got what he deserved? Yes. Snaps up to Uncle for making sure he was like, bump all that shit to we get no. I give me him. Bring me that A snapper. That was mine. Because what you ain't finna do is let him escape again. I got him. Good snaps up, Uncle. Appreciate him. I do appreciate him. And then Jessie. I am so glad that she has found a place. And her place was, but you know what? And for some reason, I kind of felt like she would be there because you remember Glenna was saying either they find a use for you or you out. And she came from a life where everything they did was a service to everybody else in their community. So it was almost symbolic that the one place she would find a place in Apex is in service to somebody else, because part of what her religious sect and growing up nurturing was actually, doing things for each other in community style. So I think she just kind of moved right on into it. I'm glad she really got there, because we get that she didn't feel comfortable about the dress and all of that, but she found a place where she could feel comfortable doing some of the things she grew up doing. So with that, I was really happy. And with that, I yield. Well, I don't yield because Cammie had a question. Go ahead, babe. Or comment.
You're on
Can't
mute.
hear a word you said. You on mute.
I just needed to piggyback because, girl, the way that I was so happy to know that she found her place when she was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But the thing that made me even more happy was that Mark stood on business. He got her on that rooftop and said, no, come on out. Speak for yourself, girl. Let's have this conversation right here, right now. Let's cut this.
Oh, yeah. I was glad that exchange happened as well. And I think it was very well needed.
My job is dangerous. It's going to happen. And Jessie, you need to understand that I can have a friend without being romantically involved. That is who she is. And then for her,
yeah.
Yeah, and then for Joy to be like, ugh, Mark, no. Just to like make Jessie feel better. I feel like that entire conversation, I think the fact that Jessie participated in that conversation and had an open dialogue and was able to speak for herself, it made me change my attitude towards her character. And I really enjoyed her after that. I knew it was gonna get better when Steele got hurt and ended up in the hospital, and she met Joy at the door and was like, come on, he's asking for you. And there wasn't a nod of disgust, disapproval. Like, she kind of let all of her feelings for Joy slide to the side to do her job, which I really appreciated. But then the fact that she had this open dialogue and this much needed conversation between her husband and his partner, she became a lovely person to me at that point. I just had to add that on.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was great. I was glad to see. That's how grown folks should be communicating. That's how it really should be happening. But these grown folk nowadays, up in this century, I need them. Somebody need to take a page out this book and this is how adults handle difficult conversations about relationships. Be upfront, be honest, be open, and let's get it over. But on that, but I'm glad you mentioned Steel. Come on now. This battle, the best part of the battle, when she got back at Ace, wasn't her getting back at Ace. It was Steel, Hammer, and Mark putting it down, baby. Oh, did that not give me life? I said, he gonna come out here with some draking, and she just knew she about to die. And she was like, their heads going boing, boing, boing. And she said, I see something, but I don't see something. And then she look up, man, Hammer, Steel, and Knight working together, elite team, getting it done. I said, y'all better get it done. Say that, girl. I loved it. The teamwork in that event alone. But just that last battle, they had some miraculous teamwork. And the fact that they got their energy from their hounds, and they were really, it was so enlightening to see that they was beat up in the first one, but they came back ready and working together. So I love that whole dynamic in that last battle. That was epic to me. And I'm like, Cam, I'm like ready for the next book, but I know y'all say I can't choose this month, and that's okay. But with that, I yield, because it was really good. I love this. Hey.
Yes, I am so happy to hear these reactions, y'all. I had very similar ones, but I'm gonna let Glenna get on her in, get her tea. Go ahead, girl.
So I was happy with most of the way the resolution came out through this. I agree with the Mark Jesse conversation was definitely well deserved and well needed. And I really enjoyed how Ace got his due in the end. But Abigail Drift needs a good lesson in risk versus benefit. Because the risk of the lives, because they fight one battle, what, a third to a half of her Simons are dead? That's not worth it. They lost a handful of hunters. She lost a third of her force. What do they do after 5 battles when her entire force is gone? And with that, I yield.
You know what? That's one of many things on my list to discuss. So, okay, first things first. The folk mage coming to her saying power comes from somewhere. I immediately knew, oh my God, she's gonna bring in the hounds. I just didn't know how she was gonna do it. Now that we know, because Joy has been the only hunter who's really had a relationship with her hounds as an equal, and all the other hunters seem to have this superior and subservient relationship with their hounds. Now, this was the opportunity for not only all of those other hunters to realize that, first of all, your hounds are smart and can communicate with you and can collaborate with you and actually can save your ass. So it was just like a light bulb went off when she had told them, like, yeah, like we can share magic. They can replenish us in the same way that they replenish themselves. And it just changed the whole game. Let's see what else. I also was very excited that Jesse found a place and has an opportunity to put some of that indoctrination aside as far as how women are supposed to interact with each other or supposed to view each other as threats. I really, really enjoyed Mark standing on business as well. But also, I feel like Mark's willingness to include Jesse in that conversation is a nod to how Mark, even though he holds his beliefs dear, he's willing to take the meat and spit out the bones. Like back where they from, they don't get a women voices or choice or anything like that. But he's like, no, it ain't gonna be like that with us. Yeah, we love the Lord, but it's more of an egalitarian relationship versus a totalitarian one. And I love that he was so integral in involving her in that conversation, because this is y'all life now. Y'all here in Apex now. We got to make this work. What else? Oh, yes. The showdown in the mud with the Holy Trinity. Mark, Hammer, and Steel coming in clutch, knocking dragons left and right. I was just, oh girl, I was just like, oh my God, yes! I was so elated because when they were invisible, I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, I thought it was that folk mage coming back to save her in some way. But then I remembered this is what they were training on when they were preparing Mark for his trial. So, excuse me. So not only are we seeing things resurface, but we're seeing more of that collaboration, more of that effort just as a team working together. I loved it. What else? Oh, Ace's interrogation kind of pissed me off, but I kind of expected to be pissed off because when we're dealing with mind control and mind reading and things like that, I expect things to be somewhat vague, but I still wanted answers. And it wasn't as clear as I would have liked it to be, the answers we were seeking. Like, dang, did you orchestrate Carly's death or not? Was you responsible for the vampire being in the sewer or not? And the fact that it's complicated, it rubbed me the wrong way, but I also expected as much. Now, I am glad that we have more information about why the Simons are dying and why they're dying so young and still looking like elderlies. I mean, it's giving Tuskegee Airmen, honestly. Like, you just experimenting on the folks in your pursuit of power, girl. But this leads me to question Abigail. Like, if half your people dead from this experiment, at what point do you say, maybe I should pivot? Maybe I should change course. Maybe I could still move towards my goal of replacing the hunters with Psychor, but maybe not do it in a way that I ain't got nothing to replace them with. Maybe that's just me. Yeah. And then, of course, Joy, she's a hunter, baby. She just wants you to know it ain't who she killed or where she about to go. She a hunter through and through to her core. And I'm so excited for the third book to see where this leads us on the Simons, the experiment, the death, the other siders, the battle against them, Ace and his funky tail, and where that leads us with him. I'm just excited to see what happens in the third book. It's a really good read, and I loved it. And with that, I yield. Now, y'all ready to get into these questions? Okay, I'm seeing some head nods. All right, well, let's get it. Let's go. We have Power Source, Survivor's Remorse, Help from the Hounds, Jealous Jesse, Bringing in the Thunder Birds, The Ace Agenda, The Bigger Threat, and Playing Bait. Mother, why don't you go first?
Woo! Okay. let's bring in the Thunderbirds. Let's bring in the Thunder
Oh,
Birds.
I want it that way.
Who wanted that?
Am.
I'll let her take it. Okay.
No, she said, go
Oh,
ahead.
That's
She
not
said,
the one that I wanted. I was saying, please don't pick the one that I want. Please don't pick the one that I want. That's not the one that I want.
Oh, okay. Because it's awesome. It's some good ones up in here, girl. So okay.
That was a sigh of relief.
oh,
Oh.
my bad. Oh, let's
I'll
bring
do
in
the Thunderbirds. Bring in the Thunder.
Joy negotiates with the Thunderbirds instead of destroying them. What does this moment show about her growth as a leader, and how does it contrast with Apex's usual kill first approach?
Okay. Well, of course, Apex first agenda is to kill first because the goal is to not only keep Apex City safe, but their goal is to capture on camera what they're doing, not just so the Sits can see, but I believe they utilize it also as kind of training tactics for them to go back and review what they were doing, how do they improve, and things of that nature. But initially, when they're videoing what the hunters and the Apex are doing for the sole purpose of letting them know that you are safe because your hunters are out here doing this, and so that's why the kill first approach. Outside of the fact that these are outsiders trying to get in to destroy the city and eat folk, yeah, that's the primary goal for Apex Hunters and Elite. But in terms of what and the contrast of her negotiating with the Thunderbirds shows her leadership in that you don't have to kill if you can negotiate a truce. And in this particular instance, because she had experience, or not experience, but she had memories of the stories of how this has happened before, where the Thunderbirds had a nice talking to after one of them got defeated, and they realized, well, we ain't gonna bother these people no more. In her mind, not only did she plan how to get them down in the midst of a rainstorm. That chick was bad. Okay, she got them down, and the whole scenario of that showed, number one, her leadership. She was put in a leadership position, number one, because she was the only one who had experienced anything regarding dealing with a Thunderbird before, because they really didn't know what it was. She was the one that called it and said, oh no, that ain't no regular storm, them Thunderbirds. And so because she knew, she was automatically appointed in the leadership position. But in that role, she went and figured and had everybody tell me what your abilities are, so she could pinpoint how to best use her team, which I thought was ideal because she had a 10-member team at that point in this particular battle. And she was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I mean, split second decisions, which is what a leader would do in crunch time. Okay, you got to make some decisions and make them fast. So she did that. And then she convinced them, no, don't kill them. Let me talk to them. Or let me deal with them, and got up close. And her hounds, like they would be, protective as always, doing what they do, gave her the opportunity to have that conversation with the birds and reassure the birds, hey, stay away from us. And even in there, like, how do we know you ain't gonna come after us? We got too many other things to be worrying about to deal with you. So if you don't come over here, we ain't gonna bother you. And reasonable, go on somewhere else. Don't come over here, because we know we can bring you down. We just proved to you we can take you all out. So this is why we need you to leave us alone, because we got a whole bunch of other stuff to worry about. And the fact that she was able to have that conversation with the Thunderbird and convince him, oh yeah, we don't want to fool with you because we don't want to die. Okay, we cool. And the fact that, so I'm pretty sure the folk mage got involved and had them come over in the first place, because after their last battle, they wanted to make sure they had a overwhelming defeat, which is why I'm pretty sure they brought the Thunderbirds in the first place, because it's known that the Thunderbirds will take out a whole community. And so, yeah, so I was glad she was able to convince them. Not only did the people bringing you into this battle lie to you, because we can defend ourselves against you, I need you to leave us alone and let us deal with all them other folks that lied to you, who's attacking us. And that way we won't, this is our truth. We won't attack you. You leave us alone. And just proved beyond a shadow of a doubt, number one, she's a leader. Even though she never wanted to lead, she was able to lead. Right even before that, when they told her, when she told them about getting manna, getting power from the hounds, and having and allowing your hounds to share in battle their mana, which turns into magic energy for them. Hey, that was the moment her leadership first came to life, because she had to go and tell the hunters everything she told the elite. And it was really like that was the beginning of her light shining. And that was really a good moment for me, because Kent was able to say, wait a minute, how do you know this? And it's because, like Cam said earlier, she got an open relationship with her hounds. They talk all the time. And, they just, that ain't nothing for buy it or crawl up on the bed like Radar and be like, hey, mama, guess what? Yeah, we can do this, and just the fact that she had that relationship, she asked the questions, he was able to communicate, and she went back and say, ask your hounds. That showed that she had another level of understanding of their hounds than some of, like Cammie said, some of the other hunters. They looked at them as inferior, when actually some of them probably just as brilliant as we are as humans, because they can kill the stuff that the hunters were killing. They just do it better. And plus, but anyway, that's a whole nother scenario. I really appreciate her light coming on at that point. I really, really appreciate Kent recognizing her leadership ability. And it was a really good thing to see. Yes, Cammie, go ahead.
I felt like we figured out right before this that to some degree or another, Kent has been training her for this. Because he made the statement. This is what I've been looking for this whole time. He made the statement on page 308. The next time you tell them something, they'll listen to you because you were correct now. Now, when I heard that, I'm like, what you mean next time?
You right.
What you mean next time? And then he said, like it or not, you're about to become a leader. You lead a pack of 11 and they listen to you. This is the next step. No argument. Go.
Right. That's why I said I really appreciated Kent, because he knew at that point, he let her light shine. Even though she was scared, she didn't want to go in that hangar. He was like, nope, it's the time. And you're right. That's when he told her, hey, it gone out there, tell them, and from now on they'll listen to you. Because I guess Kent say, I'm training my next replacement.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Like, I'm getting too old for this.
Right.
Especially when he said next time. And I'm like, I'm sitting in the car eating my Chick-fil-A, my fries and my chicken sandwich. I'm like, I got a mouthful of chicken sandwich. I'm like, next time.
Yeah.
Next time?
That's kind of how I felt. He was training his replacement, because like you say, he's an older out of the elite. And at some point they do retire, I believe, if they ain't killed. I would assume they stand down. So he's got to have somebody to replace him, and what better way than to train up a leader? So
Lord, there's two sharp minds in positions of power.
Girl,
I need this next book.
Okay. But see, y'all didn't want me to put it on the thing. But anyway, go ahead. With that, I yield.
Thank you for that, Mother. Glenna, are you able to select a question? Okay. Cam, why don't you go ahead and select your question?
Because I know which two I want, and I'm so praying that nobody takes them. Okay. So, help from the hounds.
Help from the hounds. Wait, question 3. All right. Help from the hounds. The hunters consider sharing magic as a way to strengthen themselves. Do you think this collaboration could shift the balance of power in Apex? What risks might come with it?
Yes. Period.
Oh,
Yes.
hello.
Like that's absolutely because
Or to expound.
I'm getting there. Oh. Um, so it gives the hunters an edge that nobody knew that they would be able to have, hounds included. Because if you think back on that first conversation when she first asked Baya, he kind of like, hmm. He had to think about it for a second. And then after some what I'm assuming is discussion with the other hounds, it came out as, yeah, we could. Here's how that would potentially work. But then that replenishes the hunters in a way, so it kind of gives them like a double-edged sword, because them and their training is already like sharp and precision on one side, but then when they wear down and you thinking they ain't got nothing left, now the hounds can feed into them and they're like a renewed being, so they can go twice as long. That's the other side. Now the risk to that, at least from what I can see, is that the hounds drain themselves and then they are no good to anyone, especially the ones who house magical abilities, like the ones who can bamf or the ones that can, put up shields. Or she had, I don't remember which hound it was that like turned himself into rope to hold Ace. Like all of those,
That was
it
that.
was Shinji. Okay, so all of those different abilities can be severely drained from them if they're feeding into their hunter. And it would be even more so the less hounds you had. So Joy is at an advantage because she has 11. But there are some hunters that only have 2, like Ace had, or there's some that have 4. Like you will never get the same boost from 2 or 4 that you would get from having 11. Because that's way more power sources coming into one person. That's the biggest risk I can see. The other risk I see is exhaustion on the part of the hunter afterward, because they have now expelled twice as much energy, their energy and their hound's energy. So they're going to need a lot of rest and rejuvenation. So I would assume that after having expelled all of that, they're gonna have to sleep it off, eat a lot more food. The same for the hounds. And what if it ends up being a longer recovery time? And if there's another immediate emergency, nobody is ready because everybody is wiped out and is super exhausted. Then what happens to Apex? What happens to the sits? What happens to all the building structures? What happens to all of these living creatures that they're supposed to be caring for if everybody's wiped out? That's just what I'm thinking. Yes, mom.
I was just thinking when you were talking about the hounds giving uh the hounds giving up all their energy and they not being able to use it. From my understanding, based on what Bias said, he was stating that when they're in battle like that, because he was saying specifically when they just going out on the hunt, no, they couldn't share because they just get enough energy to fill themselves up and sometimes not completely full. But in cases like this, where you have multiple kills and they get so full, they have extra energy that they cannot use. So it's being wasted. And from my understanding, it's what's being wasted that's given over to the hunter or the elite, not the energy. I mean, they will be I see what you're saying, but I felt like they are fully restored before they even are able to share. That's the understanding I had. I could be wrong. And so they share what they would have had in, I guess, a reserve, or what is extra coming off of them, because they can't use it. So in turn, they just turn it into magic to give to their hunter. Now, in terms of that crash you was talking about, that is a real thing. That's like us coming off caffeine. You get too much caffeine, baby, you crashing, sleepy, whatever. And I could see that being an issue. But I think for that, the hunters, just the hunters, they're already on a rotation in general. But the elite never had a rotation. So they might have to, if they do stuff like that, they might have to go out and get in a rotation, except for in battle cases. Because like you say, if they're doing a big battle like this where everybody's called in, yeah, that could potentially be dangerous. But to be able to go out and just when they're on the regular hunt and still fight like that, that would be a benefit to me.
Yeah, but we're not in a regular hunt right now. We're at war.
No, I know. I'm saying in war, yeah, that can potentially be dangerous. But in terms of when the war is over and they've recuperated, if we're talking about just regular hunting, that would be an asset to regular hunting. But you're right. If that is the case, they will definitely be at a deficit when it comes to being in war, in war situations like this.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, because the point that she met up with Ace and the mage, she was talking about how her, like, it was getting hard for her to stand. She had to lean back on Dusana because her body physically couldn't take anymore. Her energy was depleted, and she had also ran through the energy that they gave her.
Right.
And at that point, for them to keep their portion of the shield up, they physically can't give any more.
Right.
And hers has run out. That's what I'm talking about. That's when they get dangerous. I'm speaking in terms of war because that's where we are right now.
Oh, okay.
So those are some real risk, and it be the same for a hunter, because especially if they don't have as many hounds as she does. She has
That's true.
11. And so she has 11 sources being poured into her, and still in the midst of this battle happened to run through all 11 that she was given.
I didn't get that she ran through them because they were all on different assignment tasks, because they can only refuel when something around them is killed and they are absorbing that mana. So like the one was shielding. While they're shielding, they're not getting any extra mana. And you're right. So that's why because they're not fighting anything and they're not absorbing anything, or at least that's the way I took it. So
that's how I took it as well. But there came the point where they were all around her, creating the shield between her and Ace and the mage. Right. And it was when she finally broke down, because she stated that she felt the power surge come into her, and when she finally broke down, that's when Ace came through and was at Mirrodin and Guachmai and was like, y'all come over here.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
And she was like, well, I feel deserted, but then they ate that ass up. So like so it's situations like that, because if those shields held, which they would have if she didn't burn through all of her energy in the rest of the fight, because at some point they were separated, but at that point they all came back together to put up the shield to protect her, and she wore down.
Yeah.
And them trying to still protect her, they weren't funneling anymore. They were still trying to hold their pieces, but because she broke down, they broke down. Not physically, but like so that they wouldn't fully break down, they had to chill out on it, because it works to a degree.
Yeah.
And she reached a degree in that moment.
I got you.
So with that,
all right. Lots of good stuff here this week, ladies. I'm feeling it. I really am. Glenna, are you able to take a question?
Yes.
All right, go for it.
I want Abigail Drift. The bigger threat.
The bigger threat. Abigail Drift sacrifices Simons to push Psychor above Hunters. What does this reveal about the dangers of ambition and control in Apex? And do her actions make her a bigger threat than the outsiders? I mean, other siders.
Yes, as far as I'm going to answer the second question first, then the first. Bigger threat than the outsiders in some instances, yes. In some instances, no. For lack of a better description, the outsiders or the other siders are basically prey driven. So they see a prey, they're going after the prey, they go after, it's nature's way as far as the majority of the outsiders. Humans are food, they want food, they go for food, they're being defended against for food. Then you have the Fae, who are the kind of manipulators in it. And that's where I put her on the same level. So I don't compare her to a regular like Draken or a Magog or a Gog. I compare her to the folk mages. Because she doesn't care about the well-being of her Simons. That's quite clear. It's clear in the way that they are raised. It's clear in the way that they are taught. It's clear in the way that their wants and needs and emotional development is completely pushed aside because it is of no consequence. As far as she's concerned, if they don't live up to their ability, they're disposable. And in reality, they are all disposable because there is no way she could have predicted who was going to survive that line of attack and who wasn't. And she literally sacrificed, what was it, a third to half of her core in one battle? What if, we don't know if that's her whole battalion of Psy Corps, but it's the majority of her force. And she just, knowing that they keep dying, she just let it happen. Instead of saying, hey, we've got this new thing, it helps, but because it's killing my people, we can't use it to a full degree, but we can aid here and here and here and here. So instead of being the team player, so to speak, and working for the betterment of the entire society and working with the hunters and filling the gaps where the hunters can't be so that they have a more cohesive line of defense, she decides to play hero, and in the process looks great for Psy Corps, except, she's missing a third of her people. What happens after 3-4 more battles when she's down to 12 Psy Corps people left and they're not even the good ones? That's Abigail Drift infuriated me to no end in this book. The hubris was insane. And it's like, it's
Remind
her,
a certain leader, huh?
just a little bit, yeah. But it's one of those things where there were so many more efficient and better ways this situation and the development of abilities could have been handled. Yes, it resulted in the hunters turning in on themselves and Joy going, okay, what can we do to do better, and finding it and making themselves better. But they could have gotten to that conclusion going about it a different way too. It could have been, here's what Psy Corps done to learn to develop theirs. Why doesn't everybody take a look at their own abilities and see what you can develop there? I bet you they would have come to the same conclusion at some point. And with that, I yield.
I see Mother has a question. Go ahead, Mother.
Was it me, or did anybody else feel like Abigail wasn't being totally truthful about her reading of Ace's mind and his memories?
I had not thought about it, but it's definitely possible.
Because I felt like she was not revealing everything she saw in his memories.
No, because
Like,
she thinks that she can exploit whatever she's learning there.
right. Like, she's talking about once he was in prison, the contacts continued, and Drift went on, ignoring at least outwardly the implications in Uncle's comments. And before you ask, he was unable to tell if this was the same person over and over or two or more people. The memory he has is of a mental voice with no suggestion of gender and no images at all. That this was how his escape was arranged. And after that point, the folk he was with spoke to him directly. So he was never able to tell which one of them, if any, was his patron. I didn't believe that. I didn't believe that. Because Uncle started questioning her. And, she was like, let me, give me a second. I'm trying to read his thoughts. Mm-mm. I feel like she wasn't being truthfully honest about everything she saw in that boy's memory.
I think you might be on to something, Mom. I do. But yes, Glenna, good stuff on your question. I mean, it's definitely given a certain familiar political leader, and he too can drift his way on to hell. But oh, I see Cam has a hand raised.
Drift on, drift on. Sorry.
Cam,
I'm just in agreement because I wasn't buying none of that. Well, it's complicated. It's complicated. I wasn't buying none of it. Why is it complicated?
It ain't just me. Yeah, it ain't complicated. All you got to do is read the memory and say what it is.
Because you sat here and recited everything else. That was a simple yes or no question. Okay. It's not that complicated.
Mm-hmm. I just want to make sure. That's why I said convenient for Ace or convenient for Drift.
Child.
More likely Drift.
More than likely Drift, yes.
Okay. Like I said, I thought it was just me.
That's a good observation, Mom. You clocking it. You clocking it. All right. I will pick Power Source. The folk mage tells Joy power always comes from somewhere. How does this theme play out through Ace, the Simons, and Joy's own discovery about sharing magic? The theme played out with Ace pretty self-explanatorily. The mage that he associated with was literally supplying him with his power, acting as a battery to amplify whatever magical abilities he already had, and then making him able to do things that ordinarily he shouldn't be able to do. When it comes to the Simons, their power comes from their ability to read minds. Joy discovering that not only is this possible, but deciding to then take this idea and apply it for her own, to win the war, actually, is just a testament to that your power, yes, it does come from your own abilities, but also your ability to think on your feet and your ability to adapt and to innovate in situations like the war that we just read about. There was so much coming at them from all different angles. And then when that storm, aka the Thunderbirds, came, most people would have just been like, hey, we ain't got it. We gone. Apex destroyed. But Joy's power came in her resourcefulness because she'd heard about Thunderbirds, she'd seen them, and she heard about the story that her uncle told her when the master, I think it was Han Lee on the mountain, when Master talked them down and literally prevented an unnecessary battle full of bloodshed. I feel like the power that the folk mage is talking about here was just about the magical power, but in the greater scheme of things, our power as people comes from our ability to think for ourselves. And with that, I yield. Let's see. Any questions?
Very insightful, Angel. Very good. Very insightful.
I try. That's what I can, That's what I can. When I can. Thank you. That said, okay, who ready for round 2? All right, Cam. Let's get it. What's your second question for the night?
Jealous Jessie.
Okay, girl. Hey, Jessie, girl. Jessie moves from jealous outsider to empowered nurse and ally. What does her transformation reveal about finding purpose in crisis?
Her character development was so fast. I loved it. It was so good. Ugh, just ugh. I've never went from hating to liking somebody so fast in a book. It's just so good. So this really just proves that everybody has a purpose. You just need to find what it is. Like, you're not here for no reason. Well, she could have stayed where she was, but she wanted to get married because she was in love. And in that, you got to move. Sometimes you got to leave what you know. But even in leaving what you know, you can always find your purpose in someplace new. You can have a purpose and it be fulfilled in more than one way, in more than one place. And she found her way and her place in this new city where she was so completely uncomfortable. She was looking at everybody sideways. Still not a fan of how she talks. The way them Christers talk is a little funky. But she realized, at least from my understanding, she realized that at home she was, like mom said, good in service of other people. And when she became the doctor's assistant, she now found her purpose fulfilled yet again, just in a new place. And clearly, she is right where she's needed, because right when she got there is when this war broke out, is when they needed nurses because so many people were injured. So she found where she needed to be. And I can understand how that can be a scary job, because people who are in the medical professions that have significant others or that have children are always worried that at some point you're going to get a call or you're going to see your loved one rolled into your place of work. And it's never an easy thing. So I commend her for that, because she was already scared about the fact that her husband is a hunter and the fact that his job is so dangerous. So now you're in a position where you could potentially be seeing your husband injured in your place of work. And that's a big jump for her. But I was really proud of the fact that she got there and she maintained her cool throughout all situations that she was a part of. Even seeing Joy again, knowing that she didn't have the best feeling about her, she maintained her professionalism in that moment. And that was really big for her character. And I just could not have been more thrilled. And at that point, I was really hoping that a bigger conversation would happen. And when it happened, I was even more happy, because we knew what she needed to hear, but we also knew who Jessie needed to hear it from. And the fact that she got both of those things in one conversation, it was just the thrill of a lifetime. It was honestly one of my favorite points in the book, because I was really concerned that that Mark's relationship with Jessie would affect his partnership with Joy. I was hoping that it wouldn't, and that there would be a bigger conversation that happened, because a big theme in all of the books that we've read with the male characters is a severe lack of communication. And Mark bridged the gap. And I was so happy when that happened, because that's not something we see often. So I loved for Jessie that she got what she needed. She heard it from who she needed to hear it from, and still was like, I don't love it here. I miss home, but I'm glad that I found something to do. I'm glad that I'm getting to meet new people. Like, I'm glad that I'm having these experiences. And I was so happy to hear her say that, because we knew from a couple weeks ago how uncomfortable she really was. Yes, Angel.
I want to second a few things that you've just shared here. Yes, their accent is trash. Just it makes my skin crawl to read it, honestly, because I can hear it. But at the same time, I think everything you're saying points to the fact that Mark chose Jesse for a reason. Yes, they were like arranged marriage, technically, but I think he's fallen in love with her over the years for this very reason, because though she may be indoctrinated, she has an open mind and she's willing to adapt and grow and shift and change in similar ways that Mark has had to, not living there and living in Apex instead. And I think that makes them so much more compatible than he would be for a regular Krister woman who is fully indoctrinated and maybe not as willing to bend in the ways of thinking that Jesse is. Also, something you mentioned, she was very unhappy, and it was so apparent in those chapters. I think many people in life are unhappy and depressed because of their untapped potential, their unrealized purpose. And it's only when they actually resolve that they see some semblance of joy. Because if you think about it, so many people are just, hand to mouth, check to check, doing what they need to do to get by and living on autopilot, but they're not happy because they're not doing whatever their God-given purpose is. And only when you actually find out what that is, I ain't gonna say this, I'm not trying to trivialize depression in any way, but I feel like once you get a glimpse of what that is, your whole world opens up. And this is exactly what happened for Jessie. She saw a smidgen of joy just in the feeling of being rewarded or the fulfillment that she got from being able to help somebody. Because that's her purpose, not cooking and cleaning, but helping somebody. Yes, Mom.
I just wanted to say I'm in total agreement with you on that, Angel and Cam. Excellent points. But can we just in the fact that she's an open thinker, and when she, all of that, I was so proud that Mark, not only did he pull her into that conversation with Joy, but he stood up for a baby girl on page 313 because he started bragging on his wife. When you get down there, when she talked about she was being Doc Bellows' assistant and she had nothing to do with how at least I got something other than being Paul's girl or Mark's wife. And he chuckled. He said, she ain't gonna brag on herself, but I will, because they tell me she is a crackerjack nurse. And if she's willing, they finna put her in field medic training.
Yes.
So the fact that he's like, she can say what she want to say, but my wife is on point. They finna promote her and put her out in the field. Yes, she good at what she do. And I was so proud that he took that moment to elevate her because he knew she was already feeling insecure about this situation. He's making her confront her feelings and talk to Joy. And then in the essence of all of that, she was like, well, I'm just here. He's like, no, you ain't just here. You good at what you do. And I need you, even though you ain't gonna say it, I'm gonna say it for you. Yes, you the shiznits, and everybody need to know. So I was really proud that he stood and backed her in that moment. I was so excited for that.
I second that. We love when men love their wives.
Hello.
Love their wives, but also stand on business, because he followed up with, now look here, Jess, you got to figure out that just because I have a friend that's a gal, it doesn't mean that friend is any more than a friend.
#balance.
#balance. Okay. So yeah, I was loving that moment. Did it for me. I was so appreciative. Number one, that he got them two together to have that conversation, that grown folk conversation. But then to round it up with, when all this is said and done, yes, I love my wife, and she is all that, because she about to be a field nurse, because she that good, So So I was glad he was being her cheerleader in that moment. I really was.
We
did me
love
hard.
a supportive king. Yes.
It's
Yes, we
giving
love
guard.
a supportive king. Don't it give my son guard? It sure does.
It's giving
What's
my
that
husband. Yes.
This is why I love me some guard. I'm just telling you, that's why I love my guard.
It's also giving Ian. Glenna's not in the camera, but her husband is really great too.
Oh my God, isn't it? They got
Absolutely.
some really good ones. Now that you mentioned that, because he is so awesome. I love him. He is so hilarious, and I love him. But anyway, I'm sorry. With that, I'm just commenting on your comment. Sorry.
I also yield because this was my question. So
Right,
we
that's
just
what I
gonna
said.
yield all around.
Yielding all around. All right. And the yield goes all around and around. All right. Let's see. Glenna, are you able to take a question? No. Okay. Mother, how about you take a question next?
Okay.
We have the ones we have left are survivor's remorse, ace agenda, and playing bait.
Oh, you got 3 toughy woofies. Okay. Woo. Let's go with survivor's remorse.
Retro's death and Steele's near death mark the heaviest losses Joy's team has faced. How does grief and survivor's guilt affect her choices as both a fighter and a leader?
Grief. That's the word. Well, because of her grief, she had guilt. She was second guessing herself in what she did. She felt like that she was the reason. She was the reason. Who was it? Hunter. Hunter was hurt. No, Steele was missing. She was sad that Retro was dead. And she just in everything she kind of second guessed herself when her teammates came up injured, and she felt guilty about it because she thought about what she did to get information and how that affected her peers, and she was like, I should have been doing this, I should have been doing this, I should have been doing this. And the fact that she has 11 hounds, she had put herself in a position of feeling guilty about what she had that others did not have. And that was not a place for her. It wasn't her fault that she had 11 hounds. That's not the case. It wasn't her fault, but she felt guilt because she felt like, well, I got these 11 hounds. I should be able to do more or be more, and I should be able to protect them better. You know, it just shows you God has a place for all of us. There's a time and a place for everything. And as a leader, you do step back and you reevaluate what you did. But she was grieving from a fighter's perspective. And I think to me, they kind of merged together. What she did do, though, is focus her time after they put up the pictures of the dead, those that were lost. And they remembering, everybody was doing their own things, playing vid games, resting up, passing time before the next battle. She decided she's going to hone in on her skills because she believed one of the reasons they were injured was because she wasn't on point with her skills. So she took that opportunity. I need to go practice. So she started practicing her spells and targeting so she can make sure whatever she's aiming at, she gonna hit. And so I think in that moment, after she went over her grief, well, not completely over her grief, but after she got past that small portion of, okay, let me shake this off and get back in the game because I know another battle's coming. She's like, let me start honing in and targeting my skills. Let me get stronger, better, because they've all learned at this point, practice is what gets you to the next level. And I think that was the reason she decided to go and start practicing, because she was really, really hurting over the fact that who was it was missing.
Still.
Still, that still was missing. She was sad that Retro was dead, and she felt like she didn't get enough time to truly get to know him because they just kind of joked around a bit. And like I said, being that she had the hound, she felt like she should have been able to give more. But after she shook that for a little, after she came to grips with herself, she was like, you know what, let me get back in the game. Let me harness this energy and put it to good use. And it just showed in that moment her leadership, in that, because she was in the very place Kent was. Kent was in there doing the same thing. Because you look at your losses, you look at the mistakes you made, and then you go to work to make sure you don't make the mistakes again. And that's pretty much what she was doing. She was already in a leadership role. She just didn't realize it. She felt like she was battling grief and guilt, and she's like, let me get out of this head space. But and true, even in that head space, as a leader, you're going to go and do the next best thing. Now, how do I prevent this from happening again? Let me get better at what I can do so this won't happen again. Angel stepped away, but I noticed, Cam, you had a question.
Yeah, I was gonna back you about how she was talking about how, well, I have all of these hounds, I should be able to do more. And I was looking for the exact quote. But she said something along the lines of, well, I have 11 hounds, I should be invincible, right? I should be able to take all of this, right?
Right.
And I was like,
no, not necessarily.
girl, you can only do so much.
Yeah, that's the way I felt. That was in 18. I think when that's when I think it was either at the end of 17.
Yeah, wherever it's at. But she was like trying to carry the whole world on her shoulders because she has the biggest group of hounds on record. And it's like, girl, you and them hounds can only do so much.
Y'all can only do so much.
Y'all are only people and dogs with a couple of magical abilities.
Yeah.
So I yield.
Yeah, with that, I yield.
I'm back, y'all. Sorry about that. Speaking of pounds, I had to go grab mine.
That's okay. Let Peter be Peter.
But I raised my hand because yes, Joy has some very high expectations for herself. Given that she has the 11 hounds, and it made me start thinking about leadership as a concept in general, like what really makes an effective leader. And I think about this a lot now because I'm getting a lot of leadership responsibilities on at my job. Yes, I muted mom because I it's some kind of feedback coming from her. And so when I think about Joy's leadership and just what we've been taught or conditioned to believe leadership is more than just her physical skills or her strength, or and it's more than what people would have you believe as far as like just being an authoritarian. It's wisdom, it's the ability to strategize, it's the ability to inspire trust and cooperation. It's having a heart for service and for sacrifice. And I feel like because Joy does a lot of this self-reflection, it's in the right vein, but it's misguided when she starts to beat up on herself because she exhibits all those other qualities I just listed about effective leadership. And I also feel like, we can give Joy a little grace here because even though she's a natural born leader, she has grown into a lot of this over these 2 books because this is what life has thrown at her. Some of the grief from losing her friend Carly, it definitely kicked up some of her strengths in other areas. But it's in these hard moments too that Joy tends to beat up on herself the hardest. So I personally am interested to see how that growth continues in the 3rd book. And if we see that her leadership blossoms into more or less her letting go of this idea of being the perfect leader and being willing and able to learn from her mistakes. And with that, I yield. My response.
I was gonna say a lot of a lot of what she just went through is like is the very true essence of a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you lose loved ones close to you and you start to grieve. And in this case, first starting with Carly, she started to grieve and had to come through something. And then with this last battle, you know, because like you say, she's having to experience a lot and she's still fairly young. But in that, her leadership abilities are coming out. And I think we as individuals have to find that inner strength when we are grieving, because you know, when we lose someone that's near and dear to us, and mind you, she hadn't had a lot of time to get really close to Carly, but she did truly start to bond with the elite team, because you know, they accepted her in a different way, and a lot of things that they were doing, she was slowly being thrust into leadership positions. So as humans, when we lose someone, yes, we're going to be remorseful. And I've always said, everybody grieves differently. Everybody grieves differently. Some people drive themselves into work. Some people, you know, sit and sulk. Some people just, you know, get really angry. Everybody handles it differently. And in this particular case, she showed that even though she beat up on herself, she was able to shake it off, because eventually at some point, most people, not everybody, most people are able to recognize there comes a point where I got to say, okay, I need to stop in focusing in this area and I need to move on so I can continue to do what it is I need to do. So like, you know, that's why in business, they give you 5 days, 7 days or whatever when you're going through, when you lose someone, because they recognize you got to have a moment to deal with arrangements, and then you got to have a moment for yourself when when the arrangements are done and over, so that you can get your headspace back together before you step back into whatever your world is. And in this particular case, she was able to do that. You know, she did browbeat herself, as most people do, because you know, when we got a loved one that's close to dying or or got killed accidentally, be like, oh, I wish I had this, or I wish I had this, and I should have done this, or I should have done more of this. We all do that. That's the very human side of her. But the fact that she was able to say, okay, I needed to get it together. I need to shake this off. I need to go refocus my energy. And she was able to do that, shows that yeah, she's actually truly growing, and in her leadership roles that she didn't even know she was doing, because she was doing stuff that a leader would do. That's time for me to get up, get it together, hone my skills, do better. And the self-evaluation is one of the things that most leaders do. They constantly evaluate what they're doing, how they're doing it, and how they can be better at it. So yeah. And with that, I thank you, Angel, for your insight, and Cam, and I yield.
And we yielding all around. Let's see. We have 2 questions left: the ACE agenda and playing bait. Glenna, which one would you like?
I'll take the ACE agenda.
All right. Ace betrays Apex, not just for power, but because he listened to an unseen psionic influence. Do you view him as a traitor driven by selfishness, or as somebody manipulated beyond his control?
Yes.
Expound, please.
He's a traitor in and of itself, because while he was manipulated, they didn't take complete control. He still had some level of choice, or he wouldn't have been able to function on his daily basis, and his hounds would have picked up on it if he'd been completely 100% manipulated by it. So he had some level of choice in his decisions, and he kept making the wrong ones over and over and over and over again, because he wanted to be the biggest, baddest, bestest hunter, the one who got all of the prime choice. He wanted to be seen as the best, I can do better than the one with 11 hounds. I've only got 3 or 2, or can't remember one of them died or not. But he had 2 or 3 hounds, and he was a really good hunter because he was also a really good mage. Now Joyo is more well-rounded and all in all better grounded, but from a kind of let's check things off a checklist thing, they're pretty equal. And he just wanted power. And I think that was probably innate in his nature. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so easily manipulated. He walked straight into that manipulation. There was no, I got drug into it. He walked freely into it. And that is my personal opinion on this.
Okay, I got a question.
Yes, go for it.
I always like to like, put myself in the shoes of the villain for a second. Devil's advocate. What is the heart of Ace's selfishness? Do you think it's purely just a craving for power, or is it maybe resentment of leadership in general? Is it fear of being seen as weak or incompetent? Or is it a combination of all of that and maybe even other stuff I haven't listed?
I feel it's a combination.
Yeah, anybody can answer.
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I also think that it has more to do with in a society where money doesn't matter to the hunters. There's not something he can truly build and store and go, this is what I have. He only has his influence. He only has his fame. And as long as his fame is at the top of the marks, then he has a marketable value. When his fame starts to be decreasing, that's when he starts to lose his marketable value. Now, whether that is the point at which he started to be manipulated, or he was being manipulated a long time before that in order to maintain that level of of power, so to speak, I don't think we'll ever know that.
Good points. Okay.
I'm in agreement with Glenna. I feel like it is about the power. It is about his image and him having, because like you said, there's not a tangible financial gain at all in this whole scenario. So the only thing you have to show your value and show your worth is your standing amongst the people, and that's where your power comes from. Whereas most people have power because of money, his power came from his standing, his rate, his status, his and how he's viewed by the people. And when that got threatened by Joy or anybody else, that opened up the doors for how do I become more powerful. And even in the text, it said that, well, when Abigail was checking his memories, she was saying that his contact came when he was not near Apex.
What's the question?
He was always away or by himself. So I guess whoever was contacting him couldn't be detected. But even in that was the time that they were dropping those little seeds or little nuggets of, we can help you do this. We can help you do this. I'm sure we can help you do this. And by the time,
that's just how the enemy works.
Yeah, tell me about it. He plant that seed, and every now and again he drop a little bit of water on there, water that thing a little bit every time. And that's what it said. Every time he was alone or away from Apex City, is when they would come to him and be dropping them little nuggets. And it was through that.
I got another question for everybody. Can you think of a time in your own life where fear or ambition tempted you to act selfishly? And if so, what kept you from going down a similar path as Ace?
I almost dropped out of college
Really?
twice.
Do tell.
Okay, I need my tea for this one. What happened?
Mama, you was there for the second one. You was there
Wait, which time?
when I almost left the master's program.
Oh, yeah,
But
stressful.
at Stevens for undergrad, I was really stressed my senior year because
They were
I,
stressful.
I was having issues with teachers. I got put in a program and was singled out because I was the only person in the program that was not a part of the major that the program was. It was a nursing class, but I got permission from the program head to take the class as a science credit. And I was singled out. Now, I'd had other classes where I wasn't a part of the major and got permission from the professor, like all the equestrian classes I took. But in this nursing class, I was so excited for it. It was first aid and injury care. I had been wanting to take it since freshman year. The year started, and you get all your emails from all your teachers like a week or two before school start. They tell you what books you need and all this other stuff. I got the book for that class. I show up to class prepared. I'm the only one with the book. And I'm like, okay, what's that about? She was like, no, if you would have read the email correctly, it would have told you needed the digital version because we're doing all of the work for the class online. Now, this book was $150. Nobody had it used. It was a brand new book. And she sent the rest of the class a different email than what she sent me. And I was so stressed out because I had to go through this whole process to try to drop this class. I had to have a meeting with the professor, the department head, and all of this stuff. And of course, she tried to make herself look good. But it became stressful because at the point when I was able to try to drop the class, we were 3 weeks into the semester. The class switch time limit had passed because they give you a week and a half to decide whether or not you want to stick it out. I said I'm gonna try to stick it out. I've never had to swap a class or anything. And the problem was if I dropped that class, I would no longer have been a full-time student. Because this is senior year. This is you pulling up on the time where you can take less classes. You don't have to have as full of a load. If I dropped her class, I would have been under a full-time student, which would have affected my financial aid, which would have affected a whole bunch of other stuff. And I was going majority on the government's money. So I couldn't afford for my money to change because I went to private school.
So what kept you from going down that path?
The teacher who took me in. So when you have a situation like that and your time has passed where you can switch, the only way that you can stay afloat is if another teacher is willing to take you on the guarantee that you will make up all of your missed work. The only thing I could foresee was
And she
maybe I could
did.
take an equestrian class. I have a good rapport with the professor. She was my freshman advisor. Let me just see.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you know what, Cam? I trust that you can do it. Come on, join the class. We'll make sure you catch up. If you're struggling, you let me know.
I wonder if Ace had, because we don't get a lot of his backstory. I wonder if he was lacking similar mentorship or support in a way that probably would have made him not as ambitious to the point of being such a dick.
I think he was, but honestly, I don't think he became as big of a dick until his brother died.
I was going to say, I think part of his ambition was because of his brother, because he had a brother there, a younger brother that was also a hunter. He had to be the upstanding big brother. And Whether he
Right.
had a mentor or not, he had to show that um, he was someone his brother could look up to, as
That's my
well as
point.
everybody else.
As an eldest sibling, that's exactly my point. When you are on this pedestal, so to speak,
Hmm.
who is supporting you? Who can you lean on? And that's what I'm saying. I wonder, did Ace, prior to him being a hunter, prior to him and his brother even being in Apex, did he have that kind of support system? Did he even have somebody to look up to? Or was he always the one that everybody looked up to?
And see, I don't think he had, because somewhere in there, and like you said, well, maybe because we don't have the backstory, because I feel like somewhere in there, if he had, I don't think he would have been such an easy target
Mm.
for the size to take. Does it make sense?
I can agree to that because you definitely glow a little different when you got support.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think though his brother was his support, and we talked a lot tonight about having a purpose and having a reason. And I think his whole reason for living and staying on the track that he was on was his brother.
His brother.
And
Yeah.
Joy only became his target because that's who he decided was at fault for his brother's death. Once we got there, it didn't matter who or what came into play. His mind was immediately on, let me take out the person who took my reason, who took my purpose. It didn't matter where the influence came from. It doesn't matter to me. I don't think it matters if it was a positive or a negative influence that came to him once his brother died. He was always going to be after Joy, whether he had that support or not. He was still going to be a dick because he has now lost his reason and his purpose for being a normal human. And he has to, for whatever reason in his mind, has to take out the person responsible for his reason being gone.
I can
Excellent
agree.
point.
He
Yeah.
definitely had all the makings of villainous dick from the beginning in the first book. It's just it's a perfect storm that he became when he became after his brother's death. I ain't gonna be no
I'm agree.
apologist or anything like that. I be trying to get the wheels turning like, dang, man, you can't be this evil. But what made you this way? So all right, that said, we are down to our last and final question. Playing bait. At the end, Joy accepts her role as bait and decides to focus only on protecting the city. Is this a sign of strength and maturity or resignation to being a pawn in Apex's larger power struggles? Um, hmm. I think it can be a little of both. I think her resignation to being a pawn is because the greater or the more pressing threat at that time is another other sider, a Draken. She like, look, all of this is going on, but the right now is this creature. And I gotta do what I was sent here to do first. I think the only reason she can put all of her focus into that is because she's decided not to try to spin her wheels about what the powers that be might be doing. I also think it is a sign of strength and maturity because you drive yourself crazy trying to figure out the stuff that's out of your control. A lot of times, people all over the internet actually will have these narratives about how unfair this is, or, this gender has it harder than the other, or this demographic uh, has so many more opportunities, and there's all these different reasons why we can be upset or feel like life is dealt us a rough hand, right? But Joy in this moment is deciding it don't matter what cards I got. What matters right now is how I'm about to play them. And what I'm about to do is what I was created to do, which is be a hunter and protect these people. Uh, Cam, I see you have a hand raised. What's up?
I wonder if she was so, this is a theory, This is a theory. I wonder if she was able to so easily accept her bait role because she knew from jump that this was going to be a possibility, because she stated in the first book that she has some skepticism because she's a prefect's niece. She's Charmaine's niece. And he's asking her throughout both of these books to do so many things, right? And a lot of these things are dangerous things. And not so much that he would put her in danger, but I think somewhere he knows that they're going to try to use her as a fall person because he chose her to be there. And then it comes down on both of them.
Ooh, a family affair. I
So
like
I'm wondering if she was able to easily accept it because as she's grown, she's thought a lot about her experience in Apex, and she realizes if I can catch these people in the act, this saves me, him, and the entirety of Apex. Because she seems to do her best work when she doing stuff she knows she ain't supposed to be doing. And all of those things come about because Uncle, Mr. Prefect Charmine, is like, hey, I'm gonna need you to go do this for me. Keep it on the low.
Glitter. I see you have a hand right.
Speaking of the uncle, and I just want to say this. Anybody else have a little bit of a rough thought process on being asked to do all of these things simply because I'm your niece and I've seen you maybe once in my life and you've already established we don't communicate via letters
Yes,
just because we're family?
yes. The reason I suspected the uncle of ill will or bad doings is because of this limited contact. Now, I will say, thus far, at least at the end of this book, I don't have reason to still believe he's behind some unsavory things. But the feeling was there, and the feeling is still in the back of my mind.
I mean, his affection for her is genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell that from when he comes over to the compound during the rainstorm and tells her the story of the Thunderbirds. You can tell that's a genuine connection. But it's I don't know. It's hard for me to acknowledge devout connection without relationship.
That part, because it all matters.
Because there are people out there who are firm believers of blood is blood is blood, and they will immediately try to bond with those people as much as humanly possible, and they would die for them, and they just met them. Yeah, I'm not one of those people.
Same.
You know, that said, with all of that, I yield on this question. Let's get into some predictions for the next book. I got a couple of ideas, but I want to hear y'all thoughts too. What you think is going to happen in the development of the story?
I'm just going to abstain from any of this since I've read the next book.
Oh, dang it. I forgot. Okay, Glennon. No fair. Pam.
There's a lot of people I want to die.
Yes, we know. You don't like nobody.
Abigail Drift being one
No,
of them.
I revoke that statement. I have stated this evening that I like Jesse. I have stated that I like Mark. I like Joy. I like Hunter and Steele. And at the moment, I like Uncle. That's 5 people.
That's 4 and a possible, like spades.
I'm proud of you that you have come to like people, and the turnaround on Jesse, the like of Jesse, was just amazing for you. I'm surprised.
It really was. But like, Miss Drift can drift to hell. Like, she could go. Ace, any day now. Bye.
The glitter is
Honestly, all Simons, even Josh. Bye, everybody. Shoot, fly.
Wow.
Cause I'm sorry. When they saw each other in the hallway, I was not buying none of that. Oh, he looks hurt, but he opened the door for me anyway. Okay, be hurt. Bye. You hurt me. So we gonna hurt each other. Bye. You can die with the rest of your counterparts over yonder. So I'm saying.
I don't think all sides are bad. I just
I'm not
think
saying they all bad. I'm not saying they all bad. I'm just saying
got to
that
kill
I
'em
could
all.
live without them. I could get through the entirety of the next book, not come across a single assignment, and be chill. Because if we gonna be real, the hunters doing most of the work anyway.
But the Simons saved their ass in this last battle.
Exactly.
The world is
They
wide
would have been
enough.
okay.
The world is wide enough for both Hunters and Simons. That's
Is
all I'm
it? I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Because at this point, they got the Thunderbirds on their side. So we really don't need Simons.
You know what? Okay, since we're going here,
I'm just saying.
I predict that there's some unresolved feelings between Joy and Josh. And that might resurface in the next book. I don't know how. Jessie is more open now, but I feel like the perceived love triangle that she might have going on in her head might also resurface. Glenna, don't look at me like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Heavy
Glenna.
perceived, because even though we got a little peaceful moment right here, she still got that backwoods country thinking
In the,
too, and she's been thinking it for however long.
wow.
What else? I feel like the psionic being, the mystery of that is also going to be resolved. I mean, it already orchestrated Carly's death, so it's probably setting up something bigger. Maybe targeting Joy directly or trying to destabilize Apex altogether. I don't know. My mama mute you real quick. I still get some feedback. It's your TV. I think it's your TV in the back. But let's see what else. I also feel like the idea of shared magic between the hounds and the hunters, that's gonna become a central theme. We did kind of touch on it just a little bit that the hounds might I mean it might be some consequences to that we didn't foresee. You know, unity and strength, but also new vulnerabilities, like maybe they become too dependent on the hounds and what that might mean, or even corruption if they're shared too much, or yeah, something like that. What other notes do I have here? I feel like Joy's leadership is going to be tested even further because Kent keeps putting a lot on her. She might step into an official leadership role like we kind of talked about. And if so, she may clash even further with the political powers who don't want her rising up too far. And then last, I feel like it's just going to be some bigger, badder other-siders in the last book.
I hope it ain't no more spiders.
Same.
I didn't need that.
I didn't need that chapter either. It was gross to read. That's all I got on predictions. Any other conclusions, things to add before we wrap up, lady?
The only thing you didn't say was what gonna happen to Prefect Charmin.
Oh, I don't know.
I
don't
think I don't know. I'm not saying something is going to happen to him, but I got a feeling that something is going to happen to him in the next book. That whether it's whoever is challenging his authority, because he's been secretive with purpose. So somebody's after him, I believe, either after him or after his position, and that was identified in the first book. And so,
You know what? Something else I just thought about. I also hope that we find out what the folk mage's real purpose is. Are they trying to um destroy Apex or reshape it into something new?
well, and that's neither here or there, because we have two different kinds. We got the good folk mage and the bad. So we
Talking about the good. I'm talking like what's
oh okay.
for helping. We already know the bad one. They just
Yeah,
want to be bad. But I'm
yeah,
I'm really curious as to why her folk mage keeps popping up and why he keeps helping. What do you say gain?
yeah. I get that. Yeah. But like I said, I really think something is going to occur with Prefect Charmant, because at the very beginning of this, one of the reasons he was bringing her in was because he could not trust, or he was struggling with trust because something was going on that he really could not allude to because he was being watched. So the question becomes, why are you being watched, and who's doing the watching?
These are the questions.
What are they watching you for? And I think that is going to play out in this last book, because and so she will have a true understanding, I believe, and I'm hoping that we would find that out, so she would have a true understanding as to why he called her, even though I think she's the only living relative he has left. So yeah, I think that will kind of allude to her next level of purpose as well. So I don't know. I'm just it's just something I thought about. Because you pretty much hit on everything else.
Man, man, I can't wait till we pull the third one.
Hmm.
We
And so we did the. Did I get the next book? What's the next book? I
oh
wrote it.
so So as we finish this book, we are reminded that power, loyalty, sacrifice, all of it comes at a cost. But it's the choices we make in those moments that reveal the kind of leaders, friends, and people we truly are. I thoroughly enjoyed this read, and I am so ready for next month's book, which is Blood at the Root. All right, y'all. We'll see you right back here next week on the
Oh
Family Clock.
wait. How many chapters are we needing to prepare?
I will I will update y'all via text.
Okay,
So,
sounds good.
all right.
All
Anything
right,
else to leave? All right,
have a great
ladies.
week, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.